Hello and welcome to the very first video from Hearts Standard. I am Joel Sked, editor of the site, and I'm delighted to be joined by James Kearney, colleague and writer for Hearts Standard. How's it going, James?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, busy day in particular, busy couple of weeks getting everything in line, but
Yeah.
we're off and running. We're on our way, and it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
I'm looking forward to going to bed before midnight and not struggling to get to sleep while thinking about this site. But yeah, like you said, we're up and running, and hopefully things go relatively smoothly, which they kind of have. So yeah, we wanted to come on and speak about the site, kind of introduce ourselves and give a wee bit more detail about what fans, subscribers can expect from us, from Hearts Standard, and we might have a wee chat about the season so far. So before we get into too much detail, we may as well talk about ourselves very, very briefly, because one thing I don't like doing is talking about myself. So James, I will introduce you because I don't mind talking about other people. James, you have worked for the Herald and come across onto this project, and you have done fantastic work covering Partick Thistle you during your time at the Herald. So yeah, give the reader subscribers a wee bit of info about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been at the Herald for about 5 years or so. I've been doing a lot of different kind of stuff during that time. Like, yeah, I've been covering Partick Thistle, and I've also just been going out to other matches, press conferences, that kind of thing. I suppose my background's probably more in writing kind of long form analysis pieces, like tactical and stats, that kind of stuff. And I've also, I like a big interview as well. You know,
Yeah.
if you know any Partick Thistle fans, go ask them, and they'll tell me. I'm not shy of writing a 3,000 word article or something like that. You know, but yeah, no. So again, still relatively new to the whole journalism game, I suppose, and that I've only been doing it for the last 5 years or so. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it so far, and really excited by this project and all the opportunities that it brings.
Yeah, I know that's a big thing. This is a project that's really, really exciting. I've covered Hearts in previous roles with the Scotsman Evening News, and I don't think it'd be a surprise to anyone that I'm a massive massive Hearts fan. So yeah, it's a really exciting project to be part of, and I really hope we do it justice. So what is Hearts Standard? I mean, in the to say kind of briefly, it's a project dedicated to covering Hearts Midlothian Football Club. I think that's in its simplest form, and we want to basically provide in-depth coverage of all things Hearts Midlothian Football Club, from the latest news to in-depth features, analysis, big interviews, and yeah, just basically everything and anything to do with Hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that I mean, fans will know that you can get a lot of this stuff in a lot of different places. Like, you know, maybe this fan media site's really great for analysis stuff. Maybe this newspaper is great for your straight news. Maybe this is great for a podcast or some video. I think our thing is we're all trying to do it all a bit, kind of, you know, have it all there. So we'll have these long form interviews, you know, big features on cult heroes and that kind of thing. But then also doing the day to day and making sure we're getting the latest lines from the press conferences, going to the games, seeing what's happening, and just really trying to keep on top of everything around the club, because there's so much going on, as we all know, and there's so much more that can be done in terms of that coverage. You know, I think that's the exciting challenge for us.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing in terms of why we're doing this. I've been lucky enough to work alongside some excellent journalists who do an excellent job covering Hearts. There is you mentioned like the fan media. There's some really brilliant, passionate fan media out there. We just want to, but we feel that there is space for us here to contribute to that to that coverage. And again, with my maroon tinted speckles on, I believe Hearts are the third biggest club in the country, and I think deserve that coverage, more coverage, fresh coverage, new coverage. That maybe you look at Rangers and Celtic, that they dominate the Scottish football landscape in kind of all areas. But I do feel that we feel that Hearts deserve a more prominent position, and that's a key reason why this project, this venture, has been started up to offer more into that space, to offer Hearts fans and the club more coverage and a more prominent position.
Yeah, I think that's something that's really important to say. Actually, you touched on it there, but this isn't a adversarial thing. We don't look at the other newspapers as rivals or as fan media as rivals. It's not that. It's like it's a whole ecosystem where you need a little bit of everything. Like newspapers are great at covering certain types of things. Fan media is great at covering certain types of things. And and like we say, we think there's just that little. There is an extra space for us where we can kind of add to that. It's not just we're not detracting from anything. We're just trying to add to it all because, like you say, there's a lot of great stuff out there already. Whether that be in the traditional media, whether that be in fan media, and again, that just I think the idea is that like you say, there's that wee gap. I think where we can do a little bit more, and hopefully that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. That's kind of the aim and what we want to achieve with this, and providing greater depth to coverage. And I suppose that's a good point to go on to talk about what we have kind of planned. We'll maybe talk about the stuff we have up on the site shortly, but kind of longer term, kind of over the next few weeks as we grow. There'll be fresh content every day. There'll be at least kind of one fresh original piece every day. There'll still be the usual coverage from press conferences. Games will be covered in a slightly different way. Again, we'll talk about that shortly. But then, as well as the written stuff, we will have video content as well. So we're across. So you got, as well as Facebook, we've got a TikTok as well. Insert the Steve Buscemi meme at this point, and then we've got YouTube as well. So we'll have at least 3 videos every week: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the morning, and then that'll be supplemented by other videos if there's breaking news, if something develops that deserves covering, and of course videos from the weekend's match as well, pre and post match, which we'll provide this weekend when we're both at St Mirren. So those are the plans going forward. And I know from having seen and heard the stuff you're doing, James, and stuff I've done, we've got some I think really good content that's in the bank and coming up over the next few weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, we'll talk about the stuff that's on the site maybe a wee bit later, the stuff that's up at the moment on day one. But no, yeah, as you say, we've both been kind of squirreling away in the background the last month or two, getting things lined up. And like you say, there is I mean, we've both had a chance to read a good chunk of the stuff that's already there, stuff that's coming, and it is like we're kind of like what we've been getting at. It's stuff that it's going to be exclusive to us. You're not going to be able to get it elsewhere, and it's going to be written with care. It's going to be written well, and it's going to be substantial as well. It's not going to be one of these things you click on a link and it takes you 2 minutes to read it and then that's you. It's like, no, your Craig Gordon piece, for instance, for today. It's a great one. That's one of the ones. Make yourself a coffee, just sit down, carve out a wee 15 minutes for your day, and just get going. And I think that's the kind of thing that I think fans like that. Again, it's that idea of just we're trying to give people just bang for their buck. Essentially, we want people to just be giving quality coverage of the club they support, and it's the level of coverage that a club of Hearts' size deserves as well. So like you say, yeah, we'll have interviews and features, with ex-players, former managers, cult heroes, all that kind of stuff. We perform an analysis on the team itself, of course. Might have to wait till next season until we start doing an analysis of European opponents, sadly. Yeah. But we'll have that as well. Scouting reports on players that the Hearts are getting linked with. There's really no real limit imposed on us, I suppose, as to what we want to do. I guess the important thing as well to say to subscribers is that if there's articles that you do like, or if there's ones that you don't, tell us, let us know, because we want to, we're always going to be open. We're always going to be listening to find out what exactly it is people want to read or listen to or watch, and we want to strive to do our best to provide that. So all feedback is welcome. If there's articles that you don't like, let us know. If there's ones you do like, let us know. And because I don't, we want the fans to kind of come on this journey with us, and help us to really sort of establish ourselves and find ourselves and decide what it is we're going to be doing. So as I say, we've got some great ideas lined up. We've got some good stuff in the pipeline, but we're all ears, for in terms of making sure we're giving the fans what they want.
Yeah, I think that's important, and it's important to bring up the subscription aspect. We'll just talk about touch on that very shortly. But what I think it's important that fans or readers do contribute in that way and help kind of shape and form the discussion, the agenda. Because again, it's them reading, and it's also important. It's them paying their money to do so, and it's also important that we find a balance. And this is something that's really crucial to me: is that we find a balance where we are providing content that is full of emotion, full of feeling, but also that there is it's measured and mature, that you don't go one of two ways. You're not a cheerleader for Hearts, but also not knee jerk in kind of what we write and report on. I've certainly been guilty of that in the past, both just as in the profession and as a fan. So it's important that we find that balance. It might take time for us to find that balance, but I'm sure with the help of fans and feedback, that will happen, and that's one of the key benefits of being a subscriber. I mean, we certainly had that discussion before launching in terms of how it should launch. It was decided that it would be with a paywall straight away. I do think, again, very biased, but with the content we have up, £1 for 6 months is a great offer. It allows people to just go, right, it's just £1. Let's check it out. Let's give them 6 months, and then you've got the £12 for 12 months if you trust us for further. But I do think they are two excellent offers that will provide value for money.
No, definitely. And again, I'm biased as well, of course, but I do think if you look at just the stuff I've got on the website today, I'd happily pay £1 just to read that and nothing else. Never mind the following 6 months. So no, I think it is. I think obviously we are going to say that, we are going to talk about how it is a great deal. But at the end of the day, it's £1. That's a bar of chocolate these days, or a can of Coke. Like I think that's pretty decent. And again, you're going to get a lot more time about it. Again, there'll be stuff there every day. Lots of exclusive stuff there as well. Lots of in-depth coverage of the club. Yeah, again, I think it's very reasonably priced.
And if subscribers, if they really don't like what they see for the £1, I will happily buy them a half pint. I'm not going to go for a full pint, a half pint in return for if they feel like they've scored.
That's a mistake, Joe, because now everyone could theoretically do that, and you're going to, because a half pint costs less than £1, so this is just a cheap way to get a half pint for free.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Scrub what I just said. So let's before we go on to talk about Hearts and the season so far, let's just talk about what's up so far and kind of what fans can expect, readers can expect over the weekend in terms of the match day coverage. So we have up at the moment is kind of the mission statement, talking about the website and why the project and why it's been launched. And then, but probably the pieces that are of more interest to readers are the Craig Gordon interview, the Ricardo Fuller feature, and your own piece, James, on Stephen Naismith and the changes he's made since taking over from Robbie Nielsen. I know there has been changes in structural roles across, which has not probably sat as well with fans, and understandably just the way the season's gone so far. So talk to me a wee bit about your stats piece, James.
Yeah, so I spent a couple of days just really digging into the detail of it all. So we should say we get all our stats from StatsBomb, who are a professional company. They're used by football clubs, media outlets all over the place. They're really respected and valued data provider and analysts. So I thought it would be a good time to dig into the detail of it and find out exactly what's changed ever since Nielsen's removal and then Naismith came in at the end of the season. So looking across the interim spell, the 7 games at the end of last season, and then the start of this season as well, when well, obviously he was technical director for a bit. Frankie McAvoy was head coach, but I think as Naismith said himself in a press conference last week, behind the scenes, nothing's changed all that much in terms of the day-to-day of it. So I think that I think it's fair enough we can call it Naismith's team. I think from start to finish, I don't think many people would have a problem with that. So yes, I looked at the data just from league fixtures. I should point out, not from I didn't bother with European games or the cup tie against Partick Thistle. So it was I guess I kind of broke the article down into 2 parts, the defense and the attack, and there's a whole bunch of findings in it. But I mean, you can see that, I won't go into every conference bit of it all just now, but the general thing is that you can see that there are areas where the team has improved, or in some cases improved dramatically under Naismith compared to Nielsen. But then there are also some other areas where the team were already performing rather poorly in them, and they've got worse. Set pieces. I'm looking at you at both ends, by the way, not great. And there's other, there's some. So I think, if you look at the defense, for instance, the defense has improved a lot. You can look at obviously the number of goals conceded dropped way down. That's the most obvious indicator. But then little things as well, like the amount of XG that opposition are creating against the team, the amount of shots they're giving away, the types of shots they're giving away. And you can see that the defence is getting a lot more solid under Naismith at the back. Now, that's not to say out of possession it's all going well, because as Hearts fans will know, there's been a huge problem with pressing and aggression and things like that this season. It's been a bit lacklustre at times, particularly in centre midfield. Obviously there's been a lot of chopping and changing in there over the course of the season so far, which doesn't help. Some other big players out injured as well, guys like Beningame. Obviously Neuenhoff as well has been in and out of the team, not quite up to speed yet. So there are a couple of areas where you think, okay, well, maybe once these guys are back, we should see some improvement there. But I do think there is grounds for cautious optimism there, particularly in defence. And then the flip side of it as well, the other end of the park, when you look at attack, the goal scoring rate is dipped a little bit, I believe. But the main thing is that the Hearts team right now, they're taking a lot more shots, and they're not always as good shots as the ones they were fashioning previously, which obviously at first that should be ringing alarm bells, because you don't want guys just try to punt it in from 50 yards and see what happens. Not saying that's what happens, but you catch my drift. But I do think we are seeing the foundations laid in terms of the attacking structure that will ultimately lead to greater chances down the line. So if you look at, for instance, the deep completions, so those are passes that are completed within 20 metres of the opposition goal, or passes into the box, they've both skyrocketed under Naismith compared to what it was under Nielsen. Now, that in itself is good, obviously, because you want to have passes into the box, you want to have passes into these areas where you can control the ball and then decide what you're going to do with it next. As Hearts fans will know, that final ball has been lacking a lot of the time. But the hope would be that by getting these patterns of play instilled in the players, that should then ultimately lead to higher quality chances, which should lead to more goals. So I do think that, the big thing I guess said in the piece is that this is clearly still a work in progress. There's still work to be done, but there's also grounds for cautious optimism. I believe that the team are moving in the right direction and that things are getting better. And I think particularly the win over Aberdeen, we saw a lot more of the Hearts that we saw towards the end of last season, when they were a bit more aggressive, playing on the front foot. The style of football that made fans go, Naismith has to get the job. I think it's fair to say the first few games of the season, particularly Dundee, first half St Johnstone, Kilmarnock,
Motherwell,
these games, they all followed a similar pattern. They're all, very concerning for fans. But I think we saw in the Aberdeen game there, it was like, some of those issues that have dogged them have improved improved in that game after Naismith said they're going to specifically spend the international break working on a couple of very specific things. So I think they are moving in the right direction. Obviously, goals is in terms of the slow starts are still a problem. But even the Aberdeen game there, when you look at the XG chart, yes, Hearts took lead early on. But I mean, apart from Oda's goal, it didn't really fashion too many chances, not decent chances anyway, on goal in that first half. It wasn't until the second half they started playing better. So again, there's still areas to improve. There's still bits where you think, oh god, that needs fixed sooner rather than later. But I think the main takeaway is that things are moving in the right direction. You know, hopefully with a little bit more time, a little bit more coaching, a little bit more time for the new players to integrate, that should then translate to better performances on the park.
Yeah, I mean that's probably just what you said. There's may as well just kind of talk about the season so far and what's coming up, because the next week is still think it's massive for the team, just with the 3 away games. This is an article that's certainly going to be written at some point. There's Hearts struggles on the road for over 2 decades. So this isn't a Naismith problem. This is Hearts Midlothian problem. Just generally with away form, but you've got St Mirren, one of the hardest places to go at the moment, and then Ross County next Saturday. But sandwiched between them is the League Cup game at Kilmarnock. Again, Hearts fans will know that will strive to see progression in the League Cup, because the record in the League Cup over decades has not been good enough. I think one final in goodness knows how many years, and again defeat to St Mirren. So that's something, as well as Naismith instilling his style in getting the players to do what he wants to do, because you can see him on the sidelines that there is clear frustration that what he wants, and sometimes it's not being delivered by the players. He also needs to get the team performing really well away, or just better away from home. And the Aberdeen win was massive, and I do think it's very short term, but the 3 games coming up will tell you quite a lot about Hearts going forward, and I think it'll play a big part in the fan mood as well, and kind of getting more credit in the bank. I think that will be key, and like you said, especially trying to get players back and players up to speed. It's been a bit difficult, but I do think with one of the things I'd like to see, and it's due to kind of circumstance with Odell I know he's come back up, but is kind of that scare he had in training, and then Alex Cochrane's injury, is that probably should see a really settled defence with Atkinson, Kent, Rolls, who was much better against Aberdeen, is something that I think a lot of Hearts fans wanted to see, is him be more aggressive, and Naismith talked about that afterwards. And then Kingsley at left back. So I think having maybe a settled backline will provide that foundation for the team going forward. And again, if we can find a bit of balance in the centre midfield, which is something that's not been ideal, again going back from Naismith's spell in charge. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks in terms of what to expect from Hearts coming up. But like I said, there's positives after the Aberdeen game. There were certainly positive signs, and hopefully that continues on Saturday. And yeah, just with before we get on to talking about Saturday, I'll just run by the Craig Gordon and Ricardo Fuller piece. Craig Gordon, had the pleasure of sitting down with him for an hour, and we just really wanted to talk to Craig Gordon about goalkeeping. I was kind of like, whether do we talk about just like the skill of being a goalkeeper, the art of goalkeeping, and it turned more to be about his journey as a goalkeeper, how he went from being someone who was, at 15, he was only 5'9", and there was doubts at Hearts whether he would be signed just because of his height. Thankfully, Jim Stewart was in his corner, and he grew rapidly. And from there, he just took off. But he'd already had a real strong foundation as a goalkeeper, as a small goalkeeper, which allowed him to be even better with height. And it just goes through his loan spell. It talks about the kind of the tactical, the technical aspects of goalkeeping, how he learned so much from Antti Niemi and Gilles Russi, to very, very good Hearts goalkeepers. And his loan spell at Cowdenbeath, his debut, his ability at saving shots. He's talked about the David Clarkson save in 2005 against Motherwell, and how he came back an even better shot stopper with help from other sports. And I think other sports have played a real have had a real influence in his career. And then he talked about how he had to learn a new style of game under Brendan Rodgers at Celtic, and kind of talked about his passing as well, because it's something that's looked at by fans, by critics, by pundits, and he feels he is better than maybe people think. Stats certainly kind of passing success rate back that up. And yeah, talked about the pressure of being a goalkeeper and his return, which is hopefully coming very, very soon. And then Ricardo Fuller, a cult hero. He played 29 games. He scored, I think it was 9 goals, but he still is remembered so fondly around Gorgie. And spoke to Craig Levein, who signed him, managed him, and Gary Wales, who he partnered mostly at during his spell, and they had a really good partnership in terms of the goal contributions. Both spoke so highly about him. Levein, I just didn't expect it when I spoke to Levein, but it was like one of the first things he said was, every time I think of Ricardo Fuller, he makes me smile. And I think that's probably epitomises how Fuller is viewed within the Hearts support. But yeah, so to kind of finish up, we will talk about this weekend, because we are both going to St Mirren, the start of, like I said, 3 away games in a row to start the launch of this project. What could possibly go wrong? But we'll both be there, and we won't be doing. There'll be aspects of what we do is what you'll see other outlets do in terms of instant reaction and like 3, 4, 5 things that we may see from the game. But beyond that, we'll be looking to go kind of dig deeper, as well as you've got the manager quotes and the player quotes. We'll be kind of dig deeper into the match using StatsBomb, like you said, James.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. We'll be, I think we'll be on a weekly basis. We'll have a piece where we'll have a kind of match report, a data match report. So if there's any, kind of nerds out there that like that kind of thing, we can actually dig into the nitty gritty of it, a game by game basis, and explain what happened, why it happened, how it happened, and how it can be repeated or it can not be repeated depending on its success. So yeah, I think there's going to be we'll certainly have a lot of content up around the game. We'll have predicted lineups and things like that as well. But heading into it, we'll have all the preview stuff. We'll have the reaction. We'll have some analysis, and then, as we say, on the Sunday and the Monday, maybe even as well, we'll have a wee bit more, trying to really get into the weeds of it, because I think that's something that I think you see quite a lot in some places where some media outlets, where it's just kind of like they just report what happened, but they don't report why it happened. And I feel that that's something that we can do. I think that's something that things like the stats and tactics and all that kind of stuff, that really helps you get into the why of it, because the why of it's the thing that really matters at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a bruising battle, I would imagine. It's not exactly an easy place to go, particularly with the start St Mirren have had to the new season as well. They've been excellent. So I'm interested to see how it goes on, because again, it's going to provide a different sort of test to what Hearts have faced so far, with the exception of maybe Motherwell, who are kind of similar, I suppose. So again, it offers a good chance to show that they learned lessons from that Motherwell game, and that they can compete against a physical team that's going to try and run over the top of you in midfield, and just make life difficult for you. Those are the kind of games where you do need to play maybe a slightly different way, or you need to try and challenge, you need to approach it from a slightly different manner if you want to get something out of it. So this will be a great chance to see what lessons the team and the management and the coaching staff have learned from those early encounters, that earlier encounter against Motherwell. Because I think that even the game against Kilmarnock on Tuesday night, again, like that will be another one. It's going to be a difficult one. Obviously plastic pitch. We all know what Derek McKenna's team's like. We all know exactly what we're in for. And again, it's going to be a really interesting challenge to see if they can do the sort of deal with a team where they kind of drag you down to their level and make them play your way. It'll be interesting to see how Hearts respond to that challenge, whether or not they do get sucked in, or whether or not they kind of rise above it.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a fascinating week and a fascinating time ahead. Well, James, thank you very much, and thank you very much for those who watch, those who listen, and those who read and subscribe as well. You can visit www.heartsstandard.co.uk/subscribe, and for just £1 you get access for 6 months, and there is exclusive interview with Craig Gordon, there's analysis, there's a feature with Ricardo Fuller, and much more to come in the coming days. So thank you very much, and goodbye.